Michael Jackson, the biggest star the world has ever seen. But what if everything you think you know about Michael Jackson is only half the story? He broke records with Thriller. He changed music forever. He became untouchable. And then he became the most controversial man on the planet. Accusations, isolation, a life that slowly turned into a mystery no one could fully explain. But here's the truth most people never talk about. Before the fame, before the headlines, there was a child forced into greatness inside the Jackson 5, a child who never got to be one. This isn't a tribute. This isn't a conspiracy. This is the story behind the story, the rise, the fall, and the reality in between. And by the end of this, you won't see Michael Jackson the same way again. 1. Beyond the legend. Michael Jackson is widely remembered as one of the most influential entertainers in history. His music, dance, and visual storytelling transformed the global entertainment industry and set standards that remain unmatched. However, the widely accepted narrative often reduces his life to a binary of genius and controversy. The deeper reality is far more complex. Michael Jackson's life represents the intersection of extraordinary talent, relentless pressure, emotional vulnerability, and public scrutiny. To understand his story fully, one must look beyond the stage persona and examine the human experience that shaped the legend. This essay explores the untold dimensions of his life, his upbringing, rise, transformation, struggles, and legacy. 2. Early life and the burden of greatness. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958 in Gary, Indiana, into a working-class African-American family. As the 8th of 10 children, he grew up in a highly structured household led by his father, Joe Jackson, whose strict discipline played a defining role in shaping Michael's early life. From a very young age, Michael displayed an exceptional musical ability. By the age of 5, he had already begun performing with his brothers in what would later become the Jackson 5. His natural charisma, vocal precision, and stage presence quickly distinguished him as the focal point of the group. However, this early exposure to performance came at a significant emotional cost. While his peers experienced a typical childhood, Michael's formative years were dominated by rehearsals, performances, and the constant demand for perfection. The absence of a normal childhood would later become a recurring theme in his life and self-perception. 3. Rise to global stardom. The transition from child star to global icon is a path few successfully navigate. Michael Jackson not only achieved this transition but redefined what it meant to be a global superstar. After achieving success with the Jackson 5 under Motown Records, Michael sought creative independence. This ambition culminated in the release of his 1982 album Thriller, which became the best-selling album of all time. Thriller was more than a musical achievement. It was a cultural revolution. Through groundbreaking music videos, innovative production, and genre-blending compositions, Michael expanded the possibilities of popular music. His work transformed music videos into a serious artistic medium, influencing platforms like MTV and shaping the visual identity of modern pop culture. This period marked the peak of his artistic dominance, but it also introduced a new challenge, sustaining an unprecedented level of success. 4. The psychological weight of fame, particularly at the scale Michael experienced, is not merely a privilege, it is a psychological burden. As his career progressed, the expectations placed upon him intensified dramatically. Albums such as Bad and Dangerous demonstrated his continued artistic relevance. However, behind these successes lay increasing isolation. Michael became more withdrawn from the public, developing a deeply private lifestyle that further fueled speculation about his personal life. The pressure to maintain perfection affected his mental and emotional well-being. Living under constant public observation, he struggled to separate his identity as an individual from his identity as an icon. This internal conflict contributed to a sense of loneliness that persisted throughout his life. 5. Identity, appearance, and public perception. One of the most debated aspects of Michael Jackson's life was his changing physical appearance. Media narratives often framed these changes as purely cosmetic or eccentric, neglecting the underlying medical and psychological factors. Michael publicly revealed that he suffered from vitiligo, a condition that causes the loss of skin pigmentation. Despite this explanation, public discourse frequently ignored nuance in favor of sensationalism. The scrutiny of his appearance reflects a broader issue: society's tendency to project assumptions onto public figures without fully understanding their circumstances. In Michael's case, this scrutiny contributed to his growing discomfort with public life and further complicated his relationship with his own identity. 6. Neverland Ranch, a symbol of escape. In 1988, Michael Jackson purchased and developed Neverland Ranch, a property that would become one of the most symbolic aspects of his life. Neverland Ranch was designed as a fantasy world, complete with amusement rides, a zoo, and elaborate landscapes. To outsiders, it appeared extravagant and unconventional. However, from a psychological perspective, it represented something deeply personal. For Michael, Neverland was an attempt to recreate the childhood he never experienced. It was a space where he could temporarily escape the pressures of fame and reconnect with a sense of innocence. This aspect of his life highlights the long-term emotional impact of his early experiences and the ways in which he sought to cope with them. 7. Controversy and media trials. The 1990s and early 2000s marked one of the most challenging periods in Michael Jackson's life. Allegations against him led to intense media scrutiny and legal battles, significantly affecting his public image. While Michael consistently maintained his innocence, the nature of media coverage often blurred the line between accusation and fact. The global fascination with his personal life overshadowed his artistic contributions, transforming him from a celebrated icon into a controversial figure. This period illustrates the power of media narratives in shaping public perception. Regardless of legal outcomes, the impact on Michael's reputation and mental health was profound and lasting. 8. Humanitarian efforts and personal complexity. Despite the controversies, Michael Jackson's philanthropic efforts remain an essential yet often underemphasized part of his legacy. He supported numerous charitable organizations, contributed millions of dollars to humanitarian causes, and used his platform to raise awareness about global issues. Songs like Heal the World and Man in the Mirror reflected his concern for social change and human unity. These works demonstrate that his artistic vision extended beyond entertainment to encompass a broader message of compassion and responsibility. However, the contrast between his public controversies and private generosity underscores the complexity of his character. He was neither entirely defined by his achievements nor by his controversies, but rather by the coexistence of both. 9. Final years and unfinished comeback. In the final years of his life, Michael Jackson sought to re-establish his career and reconnect with his audience. His planned concert series, This Is It Concerts, was intended to mark a significant comeback. Rehearsal footage revealed that despite years of absence from the stage, his artistic abilities remained intact. There was a renewed sense of purpose and determination, suggesting that he was prepared to redefine his legacy once again. However, this comeback was never realized. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson passed away at the age of 50, leaving the world in shock and bringing his story to an abrupt and tragic end. 10. Legacy and cultural impact. Following his death, public perception of Michael Jackson underwent a notable shift. Tributes from artists, fans, and global leaders emphasized his contributions to music and culture, reaffirming his status as a transformative figure. His influence can be seen in countless artists across genres, and his innovations in music production, choreography, and visual storytelling continue to shape the industry. Beyond his artistic achievements, his life story serves as a reflection of the challenges faced by individuals who live under extreme public scrutiny. Michael Jackson's legacy is not defined solely by his success or his controversies, but by the enduring impact of his work and the ongoing dialogue surrounding his life. 11. The human behind the icon. The untold story of Michael Jackson is ultimately a story of duality. He was a global icon who experienced profound isolation, a symbol of perfection who struggled with personal imperfections, a voice that united millions yet often felt unheard. Understanding Michael Jackson requires moving beyond simplified narratives and acknowledging the complexity of his experiences. His life invites reflection on the nature of fame, the cost of greatness, and the importance of empathy in interpreting the lives of public figures. In the end, Michael Jackson was not just the king of pop. He was a human being navigating extraordinary circumstances, and that is where his true story lies. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.